So Fiat's return to the United States hasn't been an easy one. The largest car that they've had when they started out was this one, the Fiat 500, and has only sold a little over 43,000 units in 2014. Now that the car is gone, how is it like as a good option to purchase in the microcar segment used? That's what we're going to find out. So this car's been around since 2007 in Europe and came to the United States in 2011. The only true reason why Fiat came back is because they helped Chrysler out with getting away with bankruptcy. They gave them money, and with some help from the government, we have this, the Fiat 500. This one is the Series 3, so it has the old lights and the old interior. The car that I'm showing you here is painted in granite crystal metallic. It's a very nice paint color. This one is a base pop model. There's also a sport and a lounge. When this car came out, the pop for the 5-speed started at $15,500, the sport at $17,500, and the lounge at $22,500. And it was pretty cheap. They also released an Abarth version and a turbo version for people who demanded a bit more power. And this is the key to the 500. Pretty basic, no push button start, no keyless entry. Central locking right here is as an option. And the remote. Here's the interior. See, the one I have here is the 6-speed automatic. Pretty basic. There's the digital instrument cluster. Speedometer, tachometer. Basic head unit, basic climate control. See, there's nothing special. Bluetooth was an option. Cruise control, I believe, is also an option. Like a few 12-volt power outlets. And to start the 500, it's with the key. And there is no push button start, no keyless entry. Pretty basic. It's 1.4 liters. Pretty basic, honestly. It has multi-point injection, but it's no fuel injection, so you just put the key in the ignition and turn it, like from a car from a long time ago. As you could hear, it's kind of rattly. It doesn't have much noise to it when you're sitting. But once you start getting out on the road, it sounds quite good. There's a few rattles from the engine. It's kind of unrefined. 15-year-old engine. So, what do you expect? It came from the Fiat Punto. So, it's a pretty old engine. There's also a sport button, which doesn't do too much. It increases the throttle response. It lightens up the steering actually by a noticeable amount. Changes how the gear shifter behaves, or should I say how the transmission behaves. It basically revs the engine a little higher before it shifts. You see here, this instrument cluster display is pretty basic. It'll tell you your time, your date, your mileage, your speed. You could configure the speed kilometers and miles an hour. It tells you what gear you're in, whether your sport button's on or off, and your temperature, fuel. And that's it really. You have the speedometer right there, and the tach right there. And there is this menu button on the binnacle. You push on it, you can switch through the fairly basic menus. Not much in here. It's not too special. This car is based off the Mark II Panda, so that car came out in 2003. Not much. Over here you have your wiper stalk. Has a trip button on it, and if you click on it, it'll cycle through some trip information, trip distance, fuel economy. Like 23.5, not that good. Instant economy, average speed, travel time. And back to the date, fairly basic. No automatic headlights on this model, so it's on or off, and high beams, and like that. And there's also follow me home lights, which are pretty cool. So when you turn the car off, you just pull this back, and you can like add time, which is pretty cool. The high beams make an interestingly loud sound, a little too loud. Yeah, not very nice. Down here, you have these fairly basic climate controls. You'll get temperature, fan speed with air conditioning. You got kind of recirculate, and then you have all these different modes of where you want the air to go. Fairly basic. Window switches right here. Not in the best position. This is the 6-speed automatic. Fairly basic. You put it into reverse, you get no backup camera, and there's even a manual setting, but no backup camera. Pretty disappointed by that. There is this regular parking brake, which just takes up all this space. There's no center console in this car, single armrest, 3 cup holders, a storage for your phone, a 12-volt power outlet, a storage net right there, a fairly large glove box. I must say, it's pretty huge. It's damped, but it's not lined with felt. Inside is a USB 2.0 port, Type A, unfortunately, and at least it has auxiliary. Head unit's fairly basic. Temperatures will cool to start the and it has a CD radio, which is only a single disc CD changer, like media tuner. Then you have your audio settings, which if I click the volume up to 1, I can change like the bass and stuff. Not too much. Fairly basic. Not a lot of features. Over here you have Bluetooth, which works decently well. If I try it out here.
Say a command.
Help.
The available commands are message reader, pairing, settings, media player, or exit.
Exit. You see not a lot of features in the head unit. Fairly basic cloth seats. Kind of a black, kind of leatherette material. Injection molded plastic. Headrest. You get these chrome door handles. And you get this painted dashboard. You could have it in either matte gray or painted like this one. Everything in this car kind of fairly cheap. This is the area where you kind of rest your elbow, and it's not the best. It's hard touch, soft touch here. It's nice. Some storage, more storage down here. And when you shut the door, yeah, it doesn't sound very good. It's very kind of rattly. And that's it in this car. The seats aren't too bad. You do feel like you're sitting up in a bus. So if I put my camera basically right where I see, this is what I see, and it kind of looks like you're in a bus, and it's not as nice as I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be like low to the ground and whatever, but it's more high up, but it's fine because it has really good visibility out the side and out the front. Visibility out the back is decent. Visibility out this side though is horrible. If you can't tell, it's a seatbelt here. You can't even adjust it. Hard to reach if you're short. It's not the best. It has 6 speakers, and that's it. It has a tiny back seat, which I'll show you right now. So if I kind of adjust the seat a bit to where I would be sitting, kind of like that. That's good right there. This is how the back seat is. Ready? Not a lot of room back here. To get back here, there is this little handle will help you get in. And once you're in the back seat, it's not too bad. Footroom is horrible because you have this tire inflator kit because the car doesn't have a spare tire. 2 cup holders. Place to rest your arm, but it's not padded. Dual speakers, one on this side, one on this side. You get these seat belts. The rear window, the tiny little parcel shelf. These headrests, which it's like a UFO. And how they're shaped, and they're not very comfortable because they're at this angle, which is not very useful. Put this up, which is extremely difficult. But once it's up locked in. There's no locks except for in the very top position, so it's free moving. They're quite hard though to move, which I don't like. So you can't really, especially specifically this one, really hard to move. Here's the kind of back seat room. If I sit up in an upright position, you can see just how much room is lacking back here. It's not a lot. If I could barely fit my hand between my head and the roof, which isn't that good, so I would say I have that much headroom right there. As big as my finger, really tiny. Not a lot of room here, and I'm not even like 5'5" yet. So if I get any taller, I'm gonna be hitting my head against the roof. But if you sit normally, a little more leisurely, headroom's not too bad. Knee room isn't bad. There's only one map pocket on the pop. One thing I forgot to mention is there is no grab handle. That's only on the Sport, Lounge, and the Cabrio models, and the Turbos and the Abarths, but they're not on the pop hatchback. And I have no idea why. Pretty basic. Again, no dome light back here. You just get a couple hooks, and you have some panel gaps that aren't tightly fitted. You could see that one's not the best. And the cargo area is tiny, so let me show you what the cargo is like back there. So this is the back of the 500. The 500 logo, Fiat logo. Then you get the lights, the plate, and this little rubber button. You push on it. There I am. Lifts it up. And in the back, it's only 9.5 cubic feet of cargo space. Not a lot of room. You do get this tiny little parcel shelf, which this is my mom's car, and you could see it broke already. Telling you that Fiat's quality control, it's kind of lacking. Their engine is proven pretty good. Transmission they use is pretty good reliability wise, but the electronics have had some issues, and I'm gonna make a video on that too. So these seats do fold down, give you 17.5 cubic feet of cargo space, which is much better than they typically are. The back seat is pretty small, so basically use it for packages and children. So you could just kind of, when you're not using the back seats, just fold them down. It gives you a lot more room to do things back here. You know, you probably have a tailgate in the back of this thing. With the seats down, you could put stuff back here, and it's quite nice. Down here under the cargo floor is basically just some sound deadening, and that's about it. You do get a little kind of cubby hole over here, and that's about it. The light over here is horrible. You can barely see with it. Put that on, and get the back seats back up. Basically, just pull by the seat belt like this. This is what I meant when I said the light is pretty bad. At nighttime, that light does almost nothing. It's quite bad. And to close the trunk, you see it's kind of lined up with felt. At least has some sort of insulation. There's this pull strap here, pretty basic. Not too much to talk about in the cargo area. This car is riding on 15-inch steel wheels with wheel covers. These aren't the factory ones. The factory ones fell off. They typically do. The clips on them are pretty weak. These are pretty strong. I'll put a link in the description for these. Are pretty nice. I'm off of Volkswagen Golf, so German engineering. They hold themselves in place. metal clips, as they should be. Stays down in place pretty good. It does have this white stripe going down the side. I can't find this anywhere, so I don't know how that got on there. You can see it has a mirror and a light. And here's the front of the car. It has halogen lights, no HIDs, no LEDs, no automatic headlights. It does have daytime running lights, and barely any cooling. And these tiny little grills, no fog lights, nothing. It's fairly basic. Now I'm just going to go over the fuel economy numbers, and I'm going to go over the horsepower numbers, and we'll get it on the road and see how it does. So to pop the hood, the hood latch literally just right here. Painted in red so you can see it. And it's a pretty small hood. So under here is Fiat's corporate 1.4 liter engine. It's 101 horsepower, 97 pound-feet of torque. Like I said earlier, no direct injection. It's multi-point injected. It is a dual overhead cam engine. It's a very tiny battery. And this engine barely fits in here. Not a lot of room to work on it. This car doesn't have a K&N air filter. I just made a video on it and uploaded it. So if you want to see that, link will be in the description. This is basically how small the hood is. Barely any insulator. No engine cover. Fairly basic. And yes, it takes a prop rod. Fuel economy numbers for this engine with the 5-speed manual are 31 in the city, 34 combined, and 40 on the highway, 27 city, 34 on the highway, and 30 combined for the automatic. The turbo model, there's two turbo models. There's the Abarth and the Turbo. Turbo makes 135 horsepower, 150 pound-feet of torque, much more tolerable. This engine with the automatic does 0 to 60 around 11.5 seconds, around 9.5 seconds for the manual, which is pretty slow by today's standards, but it is only a micro car, so this car competes with cars like the Chevy Spark, which is half decent, the Smart for 2, which is pretty good, and the Scion IQ, which is a truly awful car. This car is the best one in the micro car class, and doesn't even compete with the Mini. So if you want to cross off this the Mini, I would look at something else, because this car is pretty basic compared to the other one, honestly. And once you do get that hood closed down, you know, it does have some, it's a pretty tight fitting panels actually. Nothing to report with bad panel gaps except for right here. So this is common on these 500s, where it's kind of even on this side, and in the middle it goes up. It's something with the bumper. Some cars have had it. Fiat logo is known to bubble, so the dealer will price that for free. Has these chrome little pieces here. The 500 Lounge will give you chrome right along here. And same with the bumper molding in the back, and fog lights are an option. So let's go ahead and take it out on the road and see how it does. So it's pretty quiet, the 500, not too loud. When you go over a bump though, it does rattle and squeak, and when you accelerate, there's a rattle on the dashboard, and it's noticeable and it's loud, and mainly you hear road noise, and they basically just hear the engine and the tires, and it has a manual mode. Which increases the car's performance quite a bit. And like I said earlier, sport button doesn't do too much. It just kind of changes the throttle response, and it auto downshifts as well. Pretty nice. And it does pretty well, like I said earlier, 0 to 60 in about 11 seconds for the automatic. If you want a 500 that actually performs quite well, I would go up to the Abarth model, which you can get with automatic or manual, and same with the turbo. Most people honestly should just spring for the turbo model. The base model is a little underpowered for most people, and the Abarth is just way too crazy because it's completely straight pipe and muffler deleted. So this model basically just has a sport exhaust, and this is the base suspension, and it has some body lean. You could feel it, and this car is quite fun. It does make a pretty good noise. Like I said earlier, it does have some rattles coming from the firewall, but that's basically about it. When you have the windows up though and you're going on the highway, it does make some noise. You can hear the wind coming in on the cabin. For the car that basically was the best one in the microcar segment, and is now gone, your options are pretty limited with what you have left. You basically have the Chevy Spark, and that's about it. Smart 42's gone, IQ's gone, and this is gone. So if you want a good microcar, I guess this is good for in the used market. You can find these things pretty cheap. So how much will it cost to put one of these in your driveway? The Pop model started at $15,500, and the Abarth went all the way up to $22,500, so it was pretty cheap. You can also get it in a Cabrio model, which basically has a rollback top, and it's also available with the sunroof as well. So that will be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna link the video, the air filter video, down in the description, and I'll also put a link to those wheel covers down there as well. Hope you guys enjoyed.